People of the universe, I'm Matt Micucci and this is Matt's Art Chat, my weekly series of podcast conversations about the arts with creators, curators and art lovers from all over the world. People of the universe and art people everywhere, welcome to a brand new episode of Matt's Art Chat. Today's guest is MARISABEL BAZAN, a multimedia and multidisciplinary artist born in Panama and based in Los Angeles. Her artworks are defined by a bold and expressionistic style, reflecting on such topics and themes as mental health, metamorphosis, and a human spirit, and inspired by her urban community. This was really one of those times where we could have kept talking endlessly. I found MARISABEL to be a delightfully positive person with an adventurous spirit and a genuine empathetic personality. So time really flew as we were talking, but I hope that you'll enjoy listening to the chat. So fire up an audio teeny, sit back, relax, and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. Hi MARISABEL, lovely to meet you.
Hi Matt, so lovely to meet you. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I can't complain. Right now I'm sitting in the living room, warm with the chimney on, so it's cozy and great to speak to you.
All right. What part of the world are you talking from?
I am talking to you right now from Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, right. Los Angeles. And it's cold there right now, is it?
Well, for me,
right.
I come from Panama, so I'm used to very warm weather. So when it's below 75, I'm freezing. So I think right now it's in the 60s. So, I'm a little cold.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, that's interesting because that's where you're originally from, Panama, right?
Yes.
Is that Panama City you're from or somewhere else?
Panama City in Central America, where the canal is.
Now, I wanted to, because I've never been there, so just to kind of, because this podcast, I've been interviewing people from different parts of the world, and so I wanted to sort of ask you, just out of curiosity, how do you, when you kind of meet someone who has never been there, how do you describe it? How do you describe the place?
Panama is a colorful, kind of like laid back country. It's beautiful. It's, filled with great food, great happy spirited people. Panama has the canal. So we have the two oceans. So, people are very happy, a little laid back. Cause it's a very small country, very warm, fun to be, and it has just beautiful, nature, since we have the two oceans, we can either go to the Atlantic or the Pacific, and it's so beautiful. The rainforest also, it's a beautiful country. I miss it so much.
Yeah. Was it difficult to move?
Yes. Well, I moved when I was 19. I went to college, to Miami. And from there, I started my journey to living in different places. And it was difficult to move, but I guess I feel like I am a world, I am a citizen of the world. And I love, learning about new cultures and, being with new people. So that didn't make it that difficult, because I'm always like hungry for new things, and I have the opportunity in my journey to, live in different places around the world. But I finally, stayed in LA, which I love. I love the landscape. I love the people, the multicultural people that are here. It's pretty amazing. And the weather, of course, we have sun most of the time. So those for me were, special ingredients to just stay here. So I've been here for 17 years.
Where do you think that hunger to find out more about other cultures comes from?
Well, I've always been very intrigued about different cultures and passionate about learning new things and new food and new places. So I think that comes from how I grew up. My mom was raised in Rome, actually. And since I was a little girl, I would travel with my parents to different places. So when I had the opportunity to move out of Panama when I went to college, I found freedom, freedom to explore new things. And, society in Panama is very close and it's very interesting because it's very close, very small. So when I had that opportunity, I felt like I had wings to fly. And, I've been always fearless about moving to places and learning new language and learning about new cultures. And it's so enriching as a human being to learn, and I feel like I found when I moved to I lived in Mexico for a couple of years, and it was so fantastic to be around their culture, and that really opened my world, and it was just amazing to have that opportunity. So I've never been scared about, obviously when you move to a new place, you're scared, but I found great people. I've surrounded myself with amazing people, and it has been easier for me, the transition between, moving to different places. And then I had, when I was little, I think when I was around 7 or 8, I told my mom that I wanted to move to Mexico and pursue a career in acting, because obviously in my country, we didn't have those opportunities, but I always felt like I had that in me. So little by little, I was just I wanted to explore, and I was very active into that. And when I had the opportunity to go to college and start pursuing my career as an artist, I just felt like, wow, my eyes open and my wings were stronger to fly, Since then, I always want to go to different places. I lived in Paris for some time also, and Miami, Los Angeles. So it's been great. I want to go back to Europe next year, hopefully, if we can, and be in Italy for at least 3-4 months, and be to Italy and also Paris, because my favorite places. And it's just, it warms my heart to meet new people. It warms my heart to learn about new cultures. And I've always been open to that. And I've been lucky that I've been able to do it,
It's interesting while you're saying that, all these different places that you've been in, and also your ability to adapt to all of these different places, a very adventurous lifestyle, kind of calls to mind the fact that you do work with different media as well. And I find that the two things are sort of correlated with each other, and probably I will ask you more about that later. But before I do, I would like to know more about your background, in the sense that at what age, for example, do you remember getting into art making? I mean, was it when you were a child? Were you already sort of drawing and doing things like that?
I've always been very artistic from the very young age. I started in dance. I was a professional dancer for probably 20 years. And then I went into music. And then from music, I went into TV, and then I fell back into music. And then my art career as a painter, as a sculptor, started happening. But when I was very involved with that at a very early age. But when I was in my country, like I said, it was really hard to envision my life as an artist, because obviously I had to, it was not like a career. But I was like, but this is who I am, and, I just started exploring in different fields, and very young. I didn't start painting until later in my adult life, but very young. I feel like, when I was a kid in school, when it was really hard for me to focus in the class. So I would draw, I would write. Every time that I would, I've always been very open with my feelings for people. So I would write poetry. I would write songs. Then in my adult life, when art came into my life, because it came to me, it was nothing that I don't feel like I chose to be, a painter. It came into my life and I received it, with grace. And, I felt like I was able to do even more, like really to make my dreams come true. I feel like when you're an artist, aside from music and from TV, when you make things with your hands, you feel like you can conquer the world. In my experience, like I feel like, when I started working with my hands, I was like, I can really mold what I'm thinking, I mean, it's rarely that I think something and that I can make it, because I start molding things with my hands, and I start seeing how all my imagination starts to come alive. And not even that, it just goes further, so it's very, as the moment that I'm starting to make things with my hand, my mind starts opening, and my dreams I feel like I am actually making my dreams a reality. That it didn't happen in the music or in the TV, because it's a different thing, when you make music, if you're not a musician, which I was, but I didn't feel like I had the ability to make things like I make with art, maybe now I can start having that connection, but it didn't happen until now that I started painting and I started sculpting that. And now I feel like, oh my goodness, like everything that I think I can make happen, and it, it's everything is possible, so.
Yeah, that recalls something that I read in a book by Martin Gayford, the great art critic and author recently, who recalled visiting the caves of Lascaux in France, the ones with the early cave drawings. And I think the way I read what he said was that he had this moment of awakening where he understood that whoever made those drawings was just as inspired by the figures they were representing, mostly animals of course, as much as they were by the texture of the cave walls themselves, which is interesting to me hearing you say what you just said, because it's sort of possible then to view art making sort of almost like a compulsion. But my question to you would be, do you find that it's sometimes the desire to work with a specific material or a specific art form that inspires you as much as the concept itself or an idea that comes to your head?
Yes, I think so. Definitely. Probably, a musician would tell you the different, but in my experience, when I started making forms and my inspiration was like, I put fuel to my inspiration, and really my life just really changed. And then also it's so interesting because you don't know that a painting can connect with somebody else. And it was unbelievably beautiful when I had my first solo show, how people connected with my intention, and that was fantastic because, my intention is in silence, I write on my artwork. It's very organic how I do my work, I don't plan. It's very spontaneous, and one thing drives me to the other, and I feel like it's a dance. But when you have an exhibition and, nobody knows what is on those layers, and then people start talking and start telling you, expressing what they feel, it's really unbelievable how that connection with your soul connects with another soul. And that for me has always been so fantastic.
How do you connect with people? What do you mean by that?
I feel like my artwork speaks for itself because, it's like I work with intentions, and I write that on my canvas as my first layer of paint. I write my emotions. I write an intention of what I want. And, then after that, I start covering with paint. But what I was saying was that I'm a very spontaneous artist. I don't plan. One thing drives me to another, and it's kind of like a dance. And when I had my first solo show which was my first experience by myself, not with other artists, people started coming with me, telling me what they felt from the work. And it was so impressive to me that what I was writing underneath those layers was translated energetically wise, I guess. And that connection was that connection that I have through art with other people. It's really, it really, warms my heart, because I never knew that that energy could connect another human being. I was just playing, and I was just, I'm playing when I make my artwork, and I'm filled with all these beautiful emotions that I didn't know that those emotions were translated on something that, on a still canvas, and it was fascinating to me. And from there, I was like, so people really do connect with what I'm doing. So I started exploring much more, in that field, like not consciously, but unconsciously, and really making my artwork, starting my, when I go into the studio, like it's almost like, I make a prayer. I thank for everything that I have. I turn on Palo Santo or, sage, and I curate my place right before I start working. I connect with my inner self. And it's then when I start this beautiful dance of whatever I have in front of me, and I start picking my colors and doing my forms, and that, connects with people, and it's beautiful, it's beautiful how, also there was a study that was made in Panama about neuroscience, and all the feedback that I got back was how my art was really making people feel happy, feel loved, feel gratitude, and every time that I would get all these things, I would go like, wow, really? Oh my God. So it's so important when intentions, how you live life and what you intend, because those intentions somehow they transcend and it's beautiful.
We'll be back with Marisabel Bazan for more, but first, I wanted to let you know that there are plenty more of my conversations with creators, curators and art lovers from all over the world. You can find them on most audio streaming platforms, and all you have to do is search Matt's Art Chat on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes and many more. I also have video versions on YouTube for people who may be on their laptops, and of course the safe way to make sure you don't miss any of them is by checking in with my personal website inartematt.com. that's INARTEMATT.com. The series so far has featured some truly fascinating conversations, including with poet Naomi Foyle, here reflecting on the times of the coronavirus and what lies ahead.
And it looks as though, the response to this virus is either going down the disaster capitalism route, or it's going down a route of a revolution of compassion. And that's what you see the grassroots doing. That's what you see people doing, not necessarily what you see governments doing.
To listen to the full conversation with Naomi Foyle and more of my conversations with creators, curators, experts and art lovers from all over the world, search for Matt's Art Chat on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean and most other audio streaming platforms, as well as YouTube, and of course my personal website inartematt.com. that's INARTEMATT.com. And now back to my chat with multidisciplinary artist and creative soul Marisabel Bazan. Yeah, it's a spiritual experience.
Yes, and you know what? My art is a spiritual experience.
Right. What do you mean by that? So spiritual in the terms of it also being a ritual?
I'm not sure if I have a ritualist, but I do go to the studio, and before I start painting, I do kind of like a ritual where I sit down and I walk around, where I walk around the studio and I put the Palo Santo and I do a prayer. And the prayer is obviously, I feel like, we need to connect with our inner self when we are creating, because really, that really transcends. So, and for me, it's spiritual because I'm connected with my spirit and I'm going to connect with another spirit. And I believe there's always a higher power that guides me. So I'm open to that, and that's what I do because it's like my sanctuary, my studio. It's my sanctuary. It's where I lay all my emotions into my artwork, but always with an intention to transcend, to transform into love, and it is very spiritual.
And I was looking at some of your work online and reading up about you, and I see that you're also a vocal mental health campaigner, raising awareness about mental health and mental health issues. I mean, why is this cause so close to your heart?
It is very close to my heart because I unfortunately lost 2 people to suicide. And one was my manager, and the other one, my first experience with my manager, that was then when I started painting. And then the other experience was my brother, my older brother. And, I feel like mental health is such a taboo around the world. There's people don't talk about it. Now people are starting to talk more about it because I think we're being very, consistent with programs and helping people. But at the first time where I had my experience, I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't express my sadness, where I was, and also my confusion because it's just an experience that you don't even know how to process. And my art was the way that I was able to process this loss. So, with that, I feel like, I have this understanding about mental health and how to process emotions and how to support people that are going through either a loss or that are going through a difficult time in their life. And art has been a tool for me. So I want to share those tools to people because it's important. And I know that they're in a place where they don't feel that there's a way out or they don't see the light, but I just want to help it. My experience with my brother for a long time was trying to understand where was he and how could I help him. It breaks your heart when there's something in their mind that is just not connecting to the moment. And, I don't want anybody to go through that. It breaks my heart to see, people that are going through a really hard time and other people not understanding. And I feel that is because we need to talk more about it and we need to be open and we need to understand and have compassion to those human beings that you cannot, when somebody's having mental problems, it's really hard for them to understand and give, a direction that you're giving them. It's a process that it's one day at a time. And after my brother passed away, it really was like a slap in my face. And if I can open this conversation and this dialogue about mental health, I am going to do it, so yeah. I am willing to take that responsibility, with all my love, because it really comes from the bottom of my heart to help people
Yeah, of course. I mean, right now, of course, there's a lot of people suffering from mental health issues because of the pandemic as well. Obviously, putting a lot of psychological strains on people all over the world right now. So it's quite a. I mean, have you been struggling through these times? By the way, I mean, has your creativity been suffering as a result of the times that we've been living in this past year?
Definitely. You know, when the coronavirus started, I found I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do I do? I felt pressured. I was like, how do I promote my art when there's so many people, so many unfortunate people right now, people that are dying, people that are having so many difficulties. You know, I am pretty blessed. You know, I have a home, I have a studio to go, but then at some point, and through prayer, you know, I developed some kind of strength, and I felt like, you know, now is the time where I should really go out and do what I am here to do, and bring color to the world in my own space. So I started back, you know, and then, you know, cause everything was closed. So, and there were no materials. I mean, I had materials, but I felt locked. But then at some point, my partner offered me, she's like, babe, you can go to the studio. There's nobody in the studio. And she has a big space. And I went to the studio. I checked it out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start painting, and I'm going to do just whatever. I'm not going to have an agenda. And I started going to the studio every day, very early in the morning, and working probably 10 hours, 14 hours a day. And just things little by little started. And I started using kind of like my own process, you know, really, you know, liberating my pain, my frustration, probably my anger, because I felt like I was a little angry about, you know, the whole situation, and really seeing so many people die, and listening to, you know, it was really heartbreaking. But then I have my art to process that. So I started using my own tools and working. And then I found little by little more inspiration and being more empowered to work. And then, you know, from the month of July on, I just started nonstop working and creating and, you know, going back to, you know, like who I am. Yes, let's do this. And then all these ideas of supporting even more mental health, especially in my country, because, you know, the voice needs to be heard very loud, you know. And I just started doing all of these things, and fortunately I've been able to, you know, go back to my practice and share with the world what I have for them that comes from love and comes with the intention of also bringing color to their life, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that comes from a genuine place for you, because I've seen a lot of your works and your humanitarian works, which including the 7 feet tall butterfly sculpture Ananda, which was commissioned, I believe, for HIV/AIDS. And
yes.
Can you tell me more about that? Because I did think that was a remarkable work that I came across of yours.
Thank you so much. Yes,
by the United Nations, it was commissioned.
By the United Nations, yes. I was commissioned by Panama and the United Nations to do an art piece that represented zero discrimination. And when the director of the United Nations went to Panama, they were looking for an artist that painted butterflies. And, you know, the First Lady of Panama reached out to me, and they asked me if I was there and if I was willing to have, conversation with, cause they were looking for this, and they were like, Marisabel, you paint butterflies. And I was like, yes, I am here, and I will be there, right? Cause, you know, I was there. The director of the United Nations was there. So I immediately changed and went to our Panamanian White House, and I had a meeting, and they had an idea of something, but I told them, like, we want to create an impact, when people come in and people see the artwork. And I believe that making a sculpture that represent this is going to be perfect. And I submitted my idea and they loved it. And it was great that my work, represented something so important for the HIV, which is also something that we're struggling, and if I can be a voice for that, I will definitely show up and support. And, it was just such a beautiful experience. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to do this. And now that is part of their collection. And I feel very honored. And then I have, because when you go to the United Nations, you see all this collection that they have in their private collection with artists that have been, there for a long time. So when I had that opportunity, I felt very, very honored that in a short period of my career, I was being honored to do this sculpture that supported a program, of zero discrimination, because I believe in that we're all humans and we're all the same. And actually my butterfly represents that. My butterfly represents human beings and their journey and the ability that we have to transform our lives. So, I was like, this is such a beautiful opportunity and such a beautiful blessing that I can, use my work to support a zero discrimination campaign. So that's that was just amazing to be part of that. And still I'm part of it because every time that people go into the United Nations, they have the opportunity to see that 7-foot, set of wings and they can experience that,
Right. And then there's the murals as well in LA, the Dance of the Butterflies. That's, there's something that you connect with the, when it comes to the motif of the butterflies, right?
Yes. It's, like I said, my butterflies, represent human beings. If you see my butterflies don't have antennas and they're not like the butterflies that you see, like I don't paint the butterflies that we see in nature. I paint butterflies with like this power and they have words and they have like all this, splats and they're very alive, and for me, they're human beings in their different experiences and different colors. The shape is the same because we are all made the same, but we have different experiences that makes us different. And, all of those murals that I do is like people, embracing each other, as a human race, as humanity, like we're supposed to do, I feel like we're all in this world to share our experiences and our lives without discriminating one another. And that is so important in my work and what my work represents.
And what have you been working on in recent times? What has been inspiring you as of late?
Well, I actually I've been doing sculptures with acrylic with plexiglass. I developed a collection for the holidays called the Joy Holiday Collection, which is made of plexiglass and copper, which has healing properties. And all of this was found in my studio. Like I started finding scraps of plexiglass. I found copper leaf, and I was trying to reinvent what I already had and make something, beautiful for people to receive during the holiday season. I developed a collection called the Joy Holiday Collection, which is a series of sculptures that have the year and they're numbered and they're for the Christmas trees. And I've been developing just sculptures and also other things for public art that are in the works. But this was my main objective, to do a series that would bring joy to people. And I name it the Joy Holiday Collection.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so is there a way for people to kind of keep up with all of the things that you do, all of your art that you put out? I mean, are you active on social media?
I am. I have my Instagram, which is MARISABEL BAZAN. And there you can, I'm very, I try to be very active in my social media. Sometimes I forget because I'm working and I'm concentrated, but I try to share all my, my practice on my social media. And then I have my website, which is MARISABEL BAZAN. And there you can see more of, the past murals that I've done and collections that I have available, for sale on my website and the murals and all the things that I've experienced through my, artist career. So I do have I'm active in both, and much more now that we are, having an online presence is more important because we cannot see each other, so everything is online. So I'm trying to make everything that I do more like you're with me and try to define and recreate my online presence and make it stronger so people can feel like they're part of my world and I'm part of their world,
And it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I just know that we've only scraped the surface of your world in this conversation. Maybe it would be nice to connect again some other time down the line in the future.
Aye, Matt, it would be so fantastic. I hope that we can meet in person in Europe.
That'd be wonderful, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you very much for doing this.
Hi, Matt. You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
People of the universe and art lovers everywhere, I do hope that you enjoyed this week's chat. Don't forget to check out more episodes of Matt's Art Chat across most other streaming platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Podbean and more, as well as YouTube and my personal website, inartematt.com. That's INARTEMATT.com. I'll be back next week for a brand new episode, which probably will be the last before the Christmas break. It looks like I'll be going back to Ireland for the Christmas holidays, and I'm excited to spend time with my family after not having seen them for about a year. Wow, time flies. And as for you, my friends, till the next time, stay healthy, stay safe, stay strong, and I wish you well in your own artistic ventures.